Welcome, everyone. Leighton and I are back. This is a recap of day one of the World Indoor Championships in Poland. Off to a great start, Leighton. Some big surprises. Maybe not so. Maybe you're not surprised by some of the results, but we've seen some top-class performance, and I think it's only right that we start with the 60 meters. Jordan Anthony coming into this championship for me was the favorite, but only slight. And Trayvon Bromell going through the rounds looked like the man to beat. And I was doing a show earlier, and people were saying there's no way he can run 3 rounds. And I mean, he ran 3 rounds, but Anthony was just something different today. Kishane Thompson living up to another final, getting a silver medal, 3 championships in a row where he gets on the podium, something that we have to talk about as well. But your overall thoughts on the 60 meters and the medal in general?
Well, on the day in general, I think it was an interesting day. So I think we saw some performances right across the board that were, encouraging and exciting. I mean, we'll talk about some of the morning session later on, but I never had any of the Jamaicans in my top 3 for the 60. I think we had mentioned that on the last live, because first of all, most of the 60s these guys run are outdoors.
Right.
The environment indoors is different. We saw some encouraging performances. Kishane Thompson, we saw Brian Lavelle, and earlier in the season, we saw Akeem Blake run some 60s and look good as well. But when you consider Azu, you consider Jordan Anthony, you consider Trayvon Bromell, you didn't see where the Jamaicans were going to be fast enough to get on the podium. And I'm glad I was wrong, because I mean, even though Brian Lavelle, let me start with Lavelle and work my way back to Kishane. 6:53 in each round for Brian Lavelle tells me that I saw some things today that tells me that if he fixes his start, I don't think anybody beats him. Honestly, don't, because for a 60 meter, his start is horrible. For the 100, it's not too bad. For the 200, it's fine. But his first 3 steps are not where you would like them to be for a 60. And I think he tried to change that in the final, which is why I think it seems to me like he rolled his ankle.
Right. Which
is why he backed off and didn't bother running through. But Kishane Thompson consistently, I hear people this argument about choking. No, listen. When a man runs 6:41, which is the 4th fastest time in history,
right,
and you run your personal best in a final, literally come from behind the big 3 and get into second with a dip, something that I remember, when was it? 2024 trials, when they asked him about dipping. No, it was 2025.
Right.
Because you remember he didn't dip in Tokyo.
And he says dipping is not something that you can do if you're going to win. Yeah.
Yeah. Now he understands why you need to dip. And now he dipped and he got a silver. I mean, is 0.01 second that separated him from Trayvon Bromell. Both of them got 6:45. Azu got 6:46. So kudos to him. And I think this kind of experience, will help his 100 overall. I think he'll get more comfortable with the efficiency of the first 60. Because we know he gets to the first 60 in the 100 most times. But it's in terms of the efficiency, maybe he doesn't burn much energy, so he has more to hold on to the end. That works fine for him. Akeem Blake, I was disappointed with, but then I saw something he said where he picked up a back injury a couple of weeks ago, and that obviously would have impacted his performance here. But still ran well, 6:55. In the semifinal, he got a horrible start. His lead leg went off to the left or to the right, was it? Yeah, to the right, and by the time he straightened up, the field was gone, and he still ran back and got 6:55. So kudos to him. Yeah, so I'm happy with what I saw today. Jordan Anthony is real.
A special talent, yeah.
Yeah, so to go into your first global championship against a two-time global silver medalist, 2016 champion in the 60 meters, somebody as fast as Brian Lavelle, who you've seen run in the World Championships around 1964, and still have the composure to run 640, what was it, 643 in the semis?
Yeah.
And 641 in the final, big personal best. Kudos to him. So it was. I liked the 60. I think it was exciting. I think it lived up to expectation, even though I didn't factor the Jamaicans in as medalists. But a bonus medal, I think, from my part. For Jordan Scott, look, 1729, 1730, 1733 is a very strong series. And that foul that he had, that was 3.5 centimeters over the board.
Yeah, that was way behind. Yeah,
that was. He would have won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I looked at it. Was like 17. It could have been 1760 or more.
Yeah.
Had he done that, he probably would have won. But I think this is a very encouraging performance for him. First Jamaican to win a world indoor triple jump. I said first Jamaican to win a triple jump silver medal. Triple jump medal. I don't want people to misunderstand what we're saying, because Tricia Smith won gold in 2005 at the World Champ. Yeah, and of course, Shanika Ricketts has won multiple medals at global level. But we're talking about the men and the men indoors specifically, that never been done before by a Jamaican man. So he creates his own history there. So to end the day with 2 silver medals, I mean, I can't complain. I think it went against expectations, because we did say the last live that I think where our medals would come from would be in the field. And we did mention Jordan Scott, and we did mention the 2 long jumpers. My God, my brain is crazy. And
Pinnock, yeah.
Not Pinnock, Kerry McLeod and Tajay Gill.
Yeah, and Gill, yeah.
So that was where I saw the possibilities of medals. Jordan Scott, we had mentioned him as well, because he actually had one of the top 3 jumps in the world going into this competition, isn't he?
Yeah.
17, 14
he was,
or something.
I think he was, he coming into the championships, he was either top 3 or top 4, because it was tricky with the world lead. I think there was, I can't remember off the top of my head now, but there was a couple, he was in top 3. I think coming into the championships, I expected him that if there was going to be a medal, he would be the one to do it. Yeah. And I think it's a good look for him, because when we think about even last year going into the championships in Tokyo, he was
just
one of
missing
the
out.
he was dominating the Diamond League in a sense, and just didn't get on the podium. And I hope this is a fillip for him and something that he can utilize to push forward. As many people know, he is in a great training camp, and when you have the Olympic champion there as well, Tia Lafon, and potentially, it's a great place to be. But if you are in a championship in triple jump and Andy Garcia Hernandez beats you, I don't really think you can't complain. That dude will not. He's not quite like Yulimar Rojas, but he's a big time performer, and he will come into a championships jumping 16 meters and then jump 17 and change. And
that's what he does. That's what he does. Yeah, that's what he does. What I was impressed with Jordan though is that if you look at the second phase of his jumping, that's improved a lot.
Yeah.
And if he can take that outdoors now and work on his rhythm and work on his speed, because his speed looks good.
Yeah.
And I think he actually looks a little faster than he did last year. So if he can improve on those elements, I think he would be he's a 1760 guy, probably a little bit more consistently than that would probably put him in the conversation of medals outdoors as well.
Yeah, no, he has to. And I think to be competitive in this space, we have to be real, because there's a bunch of guys, especially those Cuban guys too. And you have to start. He has to get consistently 1750s, 1760s. So he has to push the barrier there. I know he has a 1752 as a personal best outdoor. He has to get high, even better. But this might be the year to work on that, and we'll see what we get into the championships. I want to go back to a couple of things that you mentioned early. And thanks everybody for joining us. See Christina Mullings on your channel, a bunch of people on over here. Paulette, she was saying you were wrong. I don't know.
Wrong.
Yeah, we have to go back to that. Someone asked me if I'm Georgia's son. I think so, very much so. But back to a couple of things. I want to unpack a couple of things there because it's been when I was doing the live earlier, and other people have been saying this on social media. They're branding Kishane Thompson as if he's some type of a choker, if he is like a silver medalist guy, and I think it's a really wrong perception to start with. Let's be real right here. Going into his first major championship in the Paris Olympics, it is the first time the guy ever touched the scene on any major event. Did he go into the championships with the fastest time in the world? Yeah. But going into a championships and knowing how to run rounds and to compete at the highest level is different. Maybe on another, he would be the first, and I think Frano does this already. They knew he should have won the gold medal, but he didn't. But he got on the podium. Can we complain about that? We shouldn't. Last year, I think he also was probably one of the favorites to win. Fell short to an oblique Seville. Gets on the podium again. That's class. To get on the podium, there's only 3 spots on a podium unless you're gonna share a medal. And this is his first indoor championship. He ran a couple indoor. I think he ran once in the World Indoor Tour, a few times outdoors. And of all of the Jamaicans, I thought maybe Level would be the one on the podium based on what I saw in the rounds. And he gets on the podium, and he did it in a manner, as you rightly pointed out, that is not usually the way he would complete a race. I think we should not. It's not a situation where we should be critical of the guy right now. I mean, he's still young.
At all.
Yeah.
And here's another thing that people tend to overlook when they talk about choking. And these people who say these things, I'm convinced I've never run a race in their entire lives. No one has run a personal best to beat him.
Right.
In Tokyo. Oblique Seville ran a personal best to beat him in Tokyo last year. Yeah. And Jordan Anthony ran a personal best to beat him today. You can't complain. The guy gave his best effort, and it took somebody's personal best to beat him.
Right.
That's not choking. It's like I used to hear this argument about Kamita Jetta a few years ago. And then I had to go, and I remember I went on a CVM and they were asking me about it. And I was like, look at her performances when she gets beat in global championships. And it is usually her season best performances.
Right.
She was beaten by Shelley and Fraser Price. She was beaten by, it Veronica Campbell-Brown?
Yeah, VCB one. Yeah.
Yeah, who were running their best times for the year as well. So if he had gone to the Olympics in Paris and run 990, then you can probably say in choke. He ran 979. He was on the line. Right. It took out. They were separated
of a second
to separate them. Last year it took Oblique Seville to run a big personal best to beat him.
Right.
And of course today it took 6:41. So I don't see that the choke argument makes no sense. But we like to throw these tags onto people to make us feel better. The guy gave his best effort. 6:45 is a PB for him. He's never run as fast.
Yeah.
So I don't know how people come with this argument that he choked. If you run your best and a man running best and beat you, don't mean you choke. You just mean the man better the other day.
Right.
And I'm sure that when they go outdoors, if him and Anthony meet in 100, I don't think Anthony beats him.
No, I don't think so either. Not this season.
Yeah. So we need to be careful how we try to categorize people and claim that they're doing things that they're not doing. The guy ran well, and kudos to him. 6:45 is 6:45. Yeah. I was about to just before internet, I was going to check and see what the Jamaican national record was to remind me. But I think it's 6:40 something. I don't remember what it is, but he's whatever it was. It could be. I think I'm not trying to, but it's pretty close to the national record. So I don't buy that argument about him choking. He didn't choke.
I don't think anyone choked. Even Azu, think about it. Azu runs 6:46. His PB 6:45. I think he tried to defend his title in a spectacular way. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, go ahead.
No, finish your point.
No, I think when we look at this race, it's one of the closest races in history. And Ralston White is confirming that it's 6:42 by Akeem Blake. Yeah. And so I believe that when we think about this race in particular, it was really tight. It was a really tight race. Look at all the times there. You can't look at this and reasonably say that people choked or anything. I think Azu
641.
Go ahead.
641, 645, 645, 646. That's the top 4 places.
Yeah.
It's probably in terms of the collective of the top 4. I don't think anybody in any world indoor top 4 has been ever been that close.
Yeah.
So
I think it might be the closest race. I didn't check, but my memory suggests that might be the closest separation there, right? And it took a camera that to go 10,000 frames per second in order to break down the difference between a couple of guys here. So yeah. Yep.
Hold on a second. I think I just lost you.
I'm still here though. I'm hearing you just in case. Yeah. And thanks everybody for coming on. Dynamics is saying Shrew can't complain Leighton, but it's concerning Kishane has lost to 3 different people. It's not like Gatlin or Gay losing to all the time to Bolt. I still think it's too early to make that, but I don't know your thoughts on that, Leighton.
I don't buy that. Whether 3 people beat him or 4 people beat him, the fact is that he ran his best, and it just means that on the day 3 different guys were better than him.
Right.
We've seen over time where this is not the era where there were dominant sprinters like Bolt and Gatlin and things. These are guys who are pretty much close to each other in terms of their individual personal best performances. So on any given day, a guy can step up and win a race. It doesn't mean that a person choked. It just means that on the day, look, it's not like Kishane Thompson is a 9'6" man or a 6'37" man in the team. Right? Yeah. And when he went to Paris in 2024, he was 977 that year national championships. And after 3 rounds, Noel has run 979. It's 200th of a second.
Yeah.
We tend to have these perceptions of what dominance looks like. Kishane is not a dominant sprinter in the context of the current era.
Right.
In fact, there are no dominant sprinters in this current era. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not like Bolt was winning, who lost 5 races over almost 10 years. Yeah. And when he lost those races, he was not well. Like 2010 when he lost to Tyson Gay, he had back spasms. He lost to Justin Gatlin when he was not well. He eventually lost the world championship.
Lost in 17, but that was a different story.
But he has pretty much was just going through the motions that year. So it's not like he was dominating and then goes to these meets and loses.
Right.
He's in a pack of quality sprinters that are really in the same ballpark of between 975 and 979. That means on any given day, any one of these guys can come through and win. So we get spoiled by thinking that every Jamaican sprinter will come through and be the next Usain Bolt or the next Asafa Paul, who is dominant on the circuit, but never in major championships. So no, he's not a dominant sprinter. When Kishane goes out in a race, he will likely win, but it is not a guarantee like it was when Bolt was running or when Asafa was running. When Asafa won 18 races that year on the Golden League circuit, that's not Kishane Thompson. Look at the era in which he's running. 75 for him, 77 for Bleak, 79. You can consider Curly at 76. You can consider what's his name? Coleman at 76 as well. So all of these guys are within that same little box. Yeah. All these guys are running the same time. There's no dominant sprinter now, and Kishane is not a dominant sprinter. Had he been running in another era, maybe between 2017 and 2020, maybe he would have been. But in this current era, he's not a dominant sprinter. So I don't know why people expect him to be unbeatable when he's not.
And we should not forget, rather, he's still young. I mean, he's younger than we think, So
this is his third full year. This is his third full year on the circuit. Yeah. Because if you remember, 2021, he ran at trials. He ran one race at trials, 991, I think it was, and then trying to pull them out.
They pull him.
Yeah, because he said he wasn't ready for them to go through the rounds and stuff like that. Came out in 2020. Or when was it? I'm trying to remember the year. It
No,
wasn't
I
2020.
think
Yeah,
it
it was.
may have been
It's
the
tw-
Budapest
it's
year,
20
2023.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 He ran a few races on the circuit at end of the season at 985 when Coleman ran 983. Then he came out in 2024. That was his first full year on the circuit.
Yeah.
So this is the start of year 3. So he's not a dominant sprinter. So it's not like he's dominating and then loses at these major championships. He's in that pack of guys who are about equal quality in terms of what they're able to produce now. So
Right.
you know.
And he's accomplished a lot more than if you think
Yeah.
about the expectation so far, like given at the start. I mean, every time he gets into a major championship final, he walks away with something around his neck.
Yeah, he comes
And I
up
think
with
he's
something.
in a cycle of what will happen next year in China and what will happen the year after in Los Angeles. Just a word on Trayvon Bromell. I mean, he was after the semifinal, he looked like he was on course to repeat as champion 10 years later on. For a guy with, you've been following him. I know people in the chat may have as well. We saw him many years ago. Lots of talent, gone through a lot of injuries, ups and downs. But to get back on the podium, your thoughts on it? He probably should have saved the semifinal rates for this one. But
for real. But when you're running relaxed and you're knowing that the only person in the race who could possibly beat you, you're kind of running a little bit more relaxed than in a final where the field is stacked.
Yeah.
But listen, I have the utmost respect for Trayvon Bromell. I think this guy from him was at Baylor. I remember he ran a winded in 9.74. And you could see the fluidity. He's probably one of the smoothest sprinters I've ever seen. But he's been very unfortunate with injury. Achilles injuries, remember, what was it, 2015 World Championships when he tore Achilles again? He has been had he been healthy or been able to remain healthy, I think he would have been the guy to push Usain Bolt, honestly. Because I think the disruptions in his career, he's literally starting from scratch again. So by the time he gets back to the level where he should be, he gets hurt again. So for him to come out here and run as well as he has, I mean, kudos to him. I'm actually glad he got a medal. I was kind of, when I saw the photo finish, it looked like Azu was a little bit ahead of him. But then when the final photo finish photographs came in and everything, you saw that he got third. And I was really happy for him because this is a guy that has been denied the full potential of his talent because his body just can't stand up to the strain of whatever it is that he's doing. And I think, so I'm really happy for him. And I think, listen, man, when you saw the ease at which he got around 6:42 today. It was incredible.
Outrageous.
He's beautiful to watch, but he ran his best race before the finals. But even if he had run his best race, he would have lost 6:41 to 6:42. So.
Yeah, look, he's what, 30? When is he 31? Is he 31 this year? I have to check again. He's 31 this year. So, look, he still has time, I imagine, to get on a championship team next year, 2-year cycle, 32, as long as he stays healthy. Someone mentioned to me earlier and reminded me about this. He was in that, you remember when he ran that, was it the 300 meters or so where Jareem had pipped Noah, and he was in that race, a distant third, but obviously, speaking to the ability of maybe, that kind of help him in some of that kind of speed and endurance, or just be able to come back in a race like this, because three rounds in one day is not easy, even though it's 60 meters. It's certainly not easy.
It takes a lot out there, because the key thing is that it's more explosive than the 100.
Right.
So you're consuming a lot more, you're burning a lot more energy, and to come back and do that 3 times in a day is challenging. So but I'm happy. I'm glad for him, and I'm hoping that he goes on to have a career that we can remember. Right. Because his career so far has been one of where you remember him more for the injuries that he's endured than anything else. And I think it's unfair to him, given the talent that I know he possesses. Trayvon Bromell was so quick. I remember when back in the day, I used to worry about certain athletes when they're up against our guys, like Asafa Paul or Usain Bolt or Johan Blake. he was one of those guys. He was like how I used to worry about Tyson Gay or Justin Gatlin. You know, when Trayvon Bromell is healthy, he's as good as anybody.
Yeah. No, very talented. I mean, that's a guy that probably should have run a 9.6 rather if he was healthy. He's maybe low 9.7s for sure, but it's one of those things. A couple of bronze medal there from the World Championships in dating all the way back to 2015, and I think he had one in Eugene. He was part of that American sweep in Eugene, right? So
I'm Trayvon good youth, man. I mean, I am happy for him. I'm glad. I just want him to stay. I just really want him to stay healthy. Because I remember one time there was a rumor that he was dating Brittany Anderson when she was at Tumbleweed, and I'm like, go on my youth, because honestly, I have time for him. I have time for him because I think he's extremely talented. And the thing about him as well is that as a person, his humility, he lets his talent talk for him. He's not one of those guys who go in and beat him chest, and him just when he's ready to run, he's on the track and him do, and him go about him business. So cool guy.
No, it is. Thanks everybody for coming through. Camille Taylor over on your channel is saying good evening. There's a bunch of comments here. People are saying congrats to Hurricane Kishane, always bringing home the bacon.
Absolutely.
Saying that. And a lot of people are saying he's improving. And Ralston says Jordan got a beautiful start, held the field well. Yeah, that kid, I think the last few weeks for Jordan Anthony, just to finish it, is, he won at the U.S. National Championship. He took the belt from Noah. That, if everybody knows, the belt is this whole thing that they have, a wrestling type of a belt within the training camp, and they distribute it weekly based on performance. And he rightly took it, and I think he handled the media well. There, some people might not like it, but you have to have a bit of bravado. You have to have a bit of charisma to break into the sport of track and field, or to break out of the sport, for lack of a better word. Yeah, exactly. And so perhaps this might be something that will push him forward. And who knows? We'll see if it translates to something outdoors. But I suspect Lance has another one, right?
Yeah, listen, that's going to be interesting in that camp, because Noah's ego is as big as the sun. And no, with this kid coming through, who clearly is fearless, who clearly has the chops for major performances.
Right.
Because remember, he's NCAA champion as well. He knows what it's like to win.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be an interesting dynamic in that camp, because Noah is the reigning king in that camp. But is the crown shaky? Because this kid.
The question is how much longer, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember having a conversation with Donovan Bailey, and he messaged me right away. Anyway, so about this was on my channel where I was saying that in a couple of years' time, this kid could be the next point of the spear of the U.S. track and field in terms of the sprinting, because Noah Lyles is in his last cycle. Where you don't see Noah going beyond 2031 in terms of being the dominant force that he is. So this kid obviously now is the next generation of sprint stars to the United States. I mean, he clearly has the attitude, he has the skills, he has the speed, and he has the mentality. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that camp.
Cool. Yeah, we'll move on in a second. A couple comments coming through. African 1000 says there was no upset in the men's 60. Anthony has consistently done well this year. That is true. There's another one here from Demar saying, in my opinion, Kishane did what we all knew he was capable of. I think he'll continue to be good this season, but I'm yet to see an indicator that he'll I don't know.
Mentally step it up from last year.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. I couldn't see that so well. I don't know. I mean, it's a non-track and field major championship year. I suspect we'll see Kishane at the the Ultimate Championships later on this year, and I don't know if there's any indication whether or not he'll show up at the Commonwealth Games. It would be nice, but I don't know if they'll do that. Let's go into field a bit. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me make one final comment on this. Read the last comment that you just read. I am going to say this and put my neck on the line and neck on the block for this one. Once Stephen Francis is starting to tweak you and start to get you prepared for the different phases of his race that he thinks needs to work on, Kishane Thompson is in that process now. Frano is looking at where he's weak, what he needs to work on, what he needs to improve on. And this was very deliberate for Frano to get him in the World Indoors. This is not something that was a fly-by-night thing. This is a deliberate step for Frano to get him ready. And listen, if in Helsinki, not Helsinki, when is Tokyo next year, right?
Next year is China. Yeah.
Yeah, Beijing. Don't be surprised if Kishane Thompson runs 9.6 something next year. In fact, I think all three Jamaicans could. All three top Jamaicans could. Brian Level, Kishane Thompson, and Oblique Seville. And I'm saying it, I'm putting it on record here. No, could be wrong. I don't care. I'm putting it on the record. I believe that all three within the next 2 years could go 9.6.
So I want to ask you something. You mentioned something, and we can't leave it on this because there's always the notion, and you and I have looked at this before. When you see Kishane over 100 meters, and you see how quickly he's decelerating in the last, from when we get to about 75, 80, there he's slowing down too quickly, and so a lot of people take that on, and they would then say, why the 60 meters at the indoor championships? Why not think about running, more 150s if they have a few on the circuit, some 200 meters? That's where, you kind of have to relax more. You get better endurance there. But you're kind of pointing to something. And is it the dipping portion that the 60 is allowing that maybe Frano is getting him to do that?
The dipping portion could be part of it, but I think it's more getting greater separation at 60. So by the time you get to the line, you're not catching him anymore. Because, look, there's a thing, I remember somebody mentioning something to me a few years ago about a dispensation that some athletes have called the white fiber. They say Asafa was blessed with it. The thing with white fiber, as they say, which is the fast twitch fiber, is that while it gives you the explosivity and the ability to run fast, it is slower to recover than, I don't want to use the word regular, but non-white fiber. So if Frano has identified, because Frano takes a very scientific approach to what his training programs are like, maybe he has come to the belief that Kishane is kind of like Asafa in that respect, where when he runs rounds, it burns him a little bit more and he doesn't recover as well. So if he can train him to be more efficient over the first 60, that yard and a half that he has at 60 could become 2 yards. That's the difference between winning and losing. Like we saw in Tokyo, where they're on the line together. Like we saw last year, where Oblique got to him late in the race. Yeah, in Paris, sorry. And last year when Oblique got to him at 90, I think it was that Oblique got him. Maybe if he makes his first 60 a little bit more efficient, that separation can be a little bit greater. Then it makes it more difficult for the trailing field to catch him, and especially because he's big. So I don't know. What I have planned to do, and I've not been able to successfully do because I just can't find him when I go up to UTEC, is to talk to Frano and find out whether or not what the actual plan is in terms of how they're getting ready for future championships.
See, objectivity was asking you that as soon as you were giving that answer.
Listen,
so
let me tell you, I have been up there and either just miss him or in traveling or so. Nobody has a number for Frano that I know. And so I have to literally go up to UTEC or go over to Stadium East to find him. And usually my timing is off because Frano moves in mysterious ways. Yeah, but I mean, I can usually find Paul.
Right.
But Fran is a person I want to talk to. So I'm working on it though, and hopefully between now and the official start of the outdoor season, meaning like before the Diamond League starts and they travel over to Europe,
Right.
I'm gonna try and pin him down on something, and see what.
And I think he's going to go to Xiamen, right? Or one of the. I think he's scheduled for one of the early Diamond Leagues in May.
Yeah, in China.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I think Doha. I think Doha might be off this year, given what we've seen with the madness that's going on there.
That might be a challenge. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
you
we'll
gotta
see.
get an intern, Leighton. Send them up there to just sit down and call you as soon as they see him, and then you run over. You know.
Yeah, we're working on that. On that. Yeah, but I want to. I'm planning this actually. It's one of the main priorities on my list of things to get done soon.
Right.
So yeah.
Let's briefly talk.
Tia is not. Based on what I'm hearing, she's not healthy. How unhealthy she is the issue.
Okay. Let's talk about the women's shot put. That was the first final of the field, first final of the evening. Yeah. I thought it delivered. Coming into this championships, there were 4 women with the ability that had already gone over 20 meters, and not only just regular 20 meters, but high 20 meters, 29-5, 27s, and Ogunleye also part of that. And in the end, Chase Jackson living up to potentially pre-championship favorite, finally getting over that hurdle, winning a gold medal, 20.14, the only woman to actually go 20 meters and above. Sarah Mitten, constant athlete as well, a Canadian athlete, always in a mix. Surprise for me was national record from the Swedish athlete Johansson. I didn't have her on the podium.
Me neither.
I had Jessica Schilder actually. Maybe Yamise's Ogunleye could have been there. Ogunleye has been interesting to me since Paris when she broke on the scene. She has not really delivered. I know I'm kind of wondering what's going on with her, but 1946 for her. But interesting shot put. I thought in the end it felt anticlimactic just from my expectation, because I thought we would have gotten at least 3-4 women hitting 20 meters, and I was getting excited for that. But yeah. Your thoughts on it?
Like you, I thought it was going to be between Chase and Mitten.
Mitten.
Yeah, and earlier on, it looked like Mitten was going to put it off. But look, Chase Jackson need Ely. One of the things we know about this girl is that when she is prepared, she will come, and she delivered today in a big way. Because what I like about her is her mentality, and I don't know if it is me. I need to watch her again, because what I don't like is when they cut away from the event and come back, you tend not to see what you want to see. But I'm almost certain that she may have changed her technique a little bit. But I need to see if I can watch something back and see. She looks like a faster on the turn, and I think she's delivering from a higher angle. I'm not quite sure, but I haven't looked back and see. But clearly it's working for her. 20.14 is nothing to sneeze at. Yeah, I know Tia is running this weekend, Desert Floor, because the question was asked about Tia's health a few weeks ago. So that was what I promised that I'd find out, and my information was that she was not 100%.
I think you're right on that. I have to check myself on. I think also her foot looks like she's swinging it a little bit wider, but I don't know for sure. There was no mention of whether she changed her technique, like the way in which when like Ryan Krauser changed his technique, everybody knew about it. But that's something that we gotta do a little homework on. Pull up some videos from, or if someone in the chat actually knows the answer to this, we'll take.
Because one of the things that with the field events is that because they keep cutting away and cutting back, there's no seamlessness to watching the athletes go into the ring. What you're seeing from them is
almost like a highlight.
Yeah. You don't get to see the preparation when they step into the ring. You don't get to see all of that and have a flow to it, so you get a sense of what's going on. So yeah, I'll probably watch a few. So I hope I can get some tapes of her and see if anything has changed, or we'll reach out to our people and find out if there is anything that I can find out from them.
The challenge I've been having with the championship too, and is that I don't think there's at least in the States here, there's no dedicated stream for the field events. Like during the Olympics the last time, you could just go on individual, and I think
Yeah.
even World Championships last year, we could go on individual things and just watch. So I don't know. Earlier in the day too, before we get back to some track stuff, let's talk about a gold medal from Yaroslava Majuchik. I've been getting a lot of complaints about my pronunciation. Sometimes I call her something else, but
Listen, man.
yeah, Yaroslava, one of the quite possibly right now the greatest we've ever seen. I don't know if we're willing to say that. Perhaps
Too early.
world record, two
Well,
Olympic
I'd say
titles.
one off. Yeah, I'd say one off. She's one
If
of
she
the
wins
greats.
the Olympic medal, if she wins the gold medal in LA, I think we probably don't have any. She'll be undisputed at that
Yeah,
point. I
because
think.
she has a world record.
Yeah.
And she has what, Olympic gold?
Yeah, twice Olympic gold. She
Twice
has
a gold.
I think a couple. I think she may have one world title and a couple bronze medals or a silver medal. I have to check again. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think she is right there. I think she's among.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, 201 today. Yeah, but I think if we can make the case that she's among the greatest.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what? We'll see. Yeah. That was a very intriguing competition for me with three women ending up with the silver medal at 1.99 m. But she's clearly a class above the rest. I mean, even when she's not at her best, she's better than everybody else.
Right.
And her approach is bloody perfect. It seems. I mean, she can close her eyes and approach and clear whatever she needs to clear. And one of the things I like about her is that when you're looking at athletes' eyes, when they're, especially for the field events, when you're looking at an athlete's eyes, you can see the belief in what they want to do. It's like Garland today in the today, right? When he went up over the 214.
I was shocked. How does a big guy like that do that? But anyway, I'm cutting.
Yeah, but it's crazy. but it's when you look in their eyes, what they're doing is they're going over the technique in their head.
Right.
And you can see where it's not like there's any doubt. It's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to, it's going to be 6 steps. I'm going to plant here, over the bar, arc my back, kick, and I'm through. When I look at her jump, that's what I see. I don't see things like, can I make this, or can I do this? I see I am going to do this, even when the height is beyond her on the day. And it's rare when you see that. I used to see that with Izambayeva. I talk about her a lot.
Right.
But I used to see that with her as well. You see that with Usain. The greats have a way of exuding that confidence that says, I will not be beaten. It don't care who you're jumping, how well you're jumping. And yes, I wasn't really surprised that she won. What was intriguing is the second, third, and fourth trying to separate themselves at 1.99 and just unable to get it done. Alex Flair's, I see you're talking about names. Australian girl.
Alice Lagas, really, yeah, she's fantastic. I wasn't sure she was writing anything in our notebook today, but she.
Yeah, but it was. I enjoyed that competition for as much of it that I saw. My only disappointment was that, look,
Lamar Diston.
We spoke about Lamar Diston prior to the championships, and we had said that she had cleared 1.96 m. You see, if she had cleared 1.96 m today and still not medal, I would have been fine. But 1.85 is where she normally would be warming up. And she failed at 1.89 3 times today. And I'm like, come on, Lamar, you're better than this. Because when they cut back to when they were at 190, what was it, 197, 190? I don't know. It was 190 something. And I was like, where is she? Because I don't see her name on the list. And then I went on to I have the World Athletics app on my phone. I went to check the live results, and I saw where she was out 3 scratches at 185. She had a post on her Instagram page this evening that said she was disappointed. Yeah, pretty much that she was disappointed by the performance. But I need to find out why, because when you clear 192, then 194, then 196, it means that you're on an upward trajectory and things are going well for you. You expect to go into the championships and even replicate that 194, 196, but not 10 centimeters below that. I mean, it's kind of perplexing. So that was my only disappointment with that event. But in terms of the quality of it, 199 for second, third, and fourth.
Well,
I can't complain. Yeah, second, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're talking about high quality athletes. Ulis Lagers, of course, we know, world champion, multiple winner. Topic, she's also a fantastic athlete. 2 meter club already this year. Her dad coaches her. She's a future of it. And I mean, Levchenko, I didn't see this coming, to be honest with you. So she getting on the podium too is a special moment. And yeah, women's high jump in good places. And when you're talking about athletes who, when you look in their eyes, if you were to connect to high jump from yesteryear, like a Blanka Vlasic also used to give me that kind of a thing. You know, like
that girl.
Yeah, she was great for the sport. Probably should have broken the world record, but that's a different story. Renee 30, is that Renee 3010 says who coaches?
I am not sure.
Yeah.
I know she changed coaches when she had just when she was in her final year at A&M.
Right.
She had changed coaches. I'm not quite sure. I'm thinking it's probably the same coach. I don't remember his name right now, but it could be, but I'm not sure. I'll probably reach out to her and ask her if she has the same coach, but I'm not sure, to be honest. And I'm going to tell you something that is not necessarily the case. I don't. So I'll find out in the next live. I'll tell you.
Yeah, because in Parish, it was, what's the guy's name? Mario, right? It was Mario.
I can't remember his name.
It has a S. Yeah, someone has to look it up. I think, yeah, there was a guy that was coaching. I don't remember exactly right now. Yeah. No, so yeah, the high jump was great. Let's talk about some other things. Your thoughts on the 400 meters? I mean, particularly from a Caribbean perspective, before we get into the 800 meters, because that's another question. I wasn't quite sure what to make of Jareem Richards. I thought he got into the final, which is
by the skin of his teeth.
Everything. Yeah. But he doesn't look as good as I anticipated him coming into this championship. That doesn't mean he won't force his way on the podium, but right now I'm not quite sure. I think you can't look past McRae, can't look past Morales, Christopher Williams Morales. Yeah.
Or what's his name? Robinson?
Yeah, Robinson too.
Rich Robinson, yeah. They look like the guys to beat. I don't know. Jareem's in the first round, Jareem took it easy and got caught on the line.
Right.
In the semifinal, he went out too hard. I think maybe because Morales Williams was in that heat, he figured he probably had to get the cutover before him.
Right.
And then literally ran out, I guess, and finished third in the semifinal. Thankfully, he had a good enough time to squeeze into the final.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems to me like he's still trying to figure out what his race plan is. In 2022, when he won, he ran 45 flat, right?
Right.
That's his PB, I think, indoors. McRae has gone 44 many times. I think Robinson as well.
And
Morales clearly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if Jareem is overthinking where what the plan needs to be to get the better of any of these guys, and then is coming up with the wrong plan from time to time. I think she just look, running indoors is 2 laps for the 400. Right. It's much different from outdoors, where you can have a better sense of what you need to do, where you need to do it, and what you need to do in the different phases of the race. But I think for some reason this season, he's not been able to figure out what his race plan might look like. And I think it looks that way to me because the 2 things that he tried so far haven't worked. So maybe after he finished racing today, probably call Lance and say, yo, what is it that you think I need to do, or what's the better option for me? Because it looks to me like he needs to go out at a pace that will keep him in touch with Morales, Williams, and McRae, but
Right.
not so much as to burn himself out. Maybe sit just off the pace, and especially when they cross over into lane one,
Yeah.
sit tuck in behind them and draft
Behind
on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then go. I don't think he's going to catch McRae because McRae is just really fast. But I think if he runs a proper race plan and a proper strategy, I think he can probably end up on the podium. If he can run 45, if he can get the 45-1, I think he's on the podium.
Yeah. It's possible. I think he has to tuck in. I think he has to be careful about running out into lane 2, trying to attack too early. Forget McRae, I think. I think if it's a kicking race, I would put my money on him out kicking the Canadian. I just don't really know what shape he is in. He looked decent in that when we saw him earlier indoors against Noah, but I think you're right. I think he doesn't really quite know what to do in terms of how quickly he works the first 200 and when to actually attack in a race like that. And he has to be careful.
The way I see it, he has to attack in the last 150 meters.
Right.
So he tucks in maybe a yard and a half behind whoever is leading, and then just go for it. I mean, you can't. If you're running from front, you have to know exactly where you need to be able to, I use that term loosely here, rest within the race.
Right.
And then kick home. I don't think he's worked that out. And I think, it's odd to see, because for somebody who's won a world title indoors already, I thought he probably would have come in with a plan that actually is more solid. Then, test it in the preliminary round, test it again in the semifinals, and then come home and see, get into the final and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. If I have any small tweaks to make, this is what I need to do. But I don't know. It seems like he's not certain.
And he's a 43.8 guy, so he has to do better. But I suspect that the Americans could go 1-2 if everything goes to plan. Yeah. I'm not quite sure, but we'll see. What about the 400 for women before we get to some 800 meters? It's not the most exciting 400 meters coming into the championship, but we've seen some good runs. I thought the athlete from Czechia, Manuel, looked decent.
Yeah, for 50.96.
Yeah.
And Jaeger 50.95.
Right. Henrietta Jaeger could do something. You don't want to count out the likes of a Bukiovecchia because she is on home soil, so potentially she could step up and do something. And then obviously Lika Klava, who started the indoor season looking fairly well, a couple world leads before that was overtaken, but it's not particularly exciting right now. There's no one giving me a 49 feel or a very, so
it's not,
I don't know.
Fortunately not happening this year. Yeah, but I think it's gonna come down between Jaeger and Manuel. That's what it looks like to me. Because Klava, I like her a lot, but I don't know if she is at a level where she's going to run a 50.1 or 49.9 or something like that. Right. And and Bukiovecchia, who Natalie Kazmarek.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce Kazmarek.
Kazmarek is a little bit easier, but yeah.
Yeah. She looks good though, but she looked better in the preliminary round than she did in the semi.
Right.
But this is a race I think can go one of three ways actually.
Right.
And it's going to come down to who executes their plan the best and not be overawed by the experience or by the occasion. And right now it looks like Manuel, because she looks very relaxed.
Right.
It's like she's just having fun out there, which is probably important for her to do, because then it takes away the stress of the occasion and allows her to run freely. Jaeger has made a breakthrough now for last 2 seasons.
Last couple of seasons, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And 50.95, looking relatively comfortable today as well. So I think it's between those two and between Bukiovecchia and and Claver for the minor placings. But I think the top two are those two. That's what it looks to me right now, because they look the most comfortable of the lot.
No, I agree. I mean, we'll see for sure when come final time, but looking good. Let's talk a bit about the 800 meters on the women's side. Keely Hutchinson,
I'll lose.
Yeah, she just no way she's gonna lose. I agree with you. Didn't even get her spikes until late yesterday or today.
Yeah.
I imagine she had a little bit of a snafu with luggage coming through. Maybe next time she needs to put her spikes in hand luggage. I'm not quite sure why she doesn't travel with her spikes in hand luggage. Just seems like a thing for an experienced athlete. But I think she was a bit flustered in terms of getting prepared. She said she had a blister or two, but looked really comfortable. Thoughts on Natoya Gould coming second in her heat? I thought she moved too hard and she was axing for that finish line. And luckily she was part of the two automatic qualifiers there. The Norwegian athlete running a bit faster than her. But should we expect much? Yeah.
Look, Natalia is my good friend. I like her a lot. She's one of the nicest people I've ever known.
Right.
But for some reason, when Natalia goes to these championships, it's like whatever it is that she was working on during the course of the year doesn't seem to come together. The race in which she finished second, I thought as well that she went out. She was trying to lead the pack, but if you're not super fast as an 800 meter runner, you can't stretch the field. So, but the thing about her challenge is that when she tucks in, if somebody kicks, she's not going to catch them either.
Right.
So she's in a rock and a hard place. But whenever you see Natalia running a race and you see her head goes back like this, you know it's done.
Yeah. And
I was really happy that she was able to cross the line second today, because I wasn't convinced that she was going to hold on.
Right.
But because I haven't seen her much, I don't think she's raced much this season.
Yeah, I think she ran a couple of races, and I think she did maybe she did a 600 as well on the circuit. I have to check, but yeah.
I don't remember. But she didn't look terrible. This was what, 201 that she ran?
It was 201.32. Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't look terrible. So maybe she needed to shake out a little bit in that race. But the semifinals are going to be a true test. I don't know if she's going to make it through to the final.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that she does. I think she's battled long and hard for Jamaica.
Yeah.
And you kind of hope that one day she will break through, because even when she has her best seasons, I mean, when she ran 155s and she goes into championships and then does something that kind of just doesn't compute. So yeah, it's kind of hard for me to. Maybe I'm too close to her to have an objective opinion about what it is for her. But what I will say is that for somebody who's run a lot of, she run indoor types at Clemson. She runs well indoors.
Mm-hmm.
I think she should try her best to take advantage of the situation. Dugoma isn't there because of these visa issues, which I don't understand why these things happen. But the field is deep, huh? The field is deep. When you look at
Vero,
quality. Vero, so much there.
Keely look decent as well.
I don't see her. She's not a medal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see her as a medal contender. I hope that if she gets to the final, that she can probably run a 159 or 158 and come away with a season's best, a personal milestone, put it that way, and come away with her head held high. But does she have a chance of winning a medal? I don't realistically, I can't see it.
Yeah, I actually don't know if she'll get into the final. She has to run really well, and I hope she gets into the final, but it's gonna be pretty tough to get into that space. Men's 800 meters. It's an interesting one. It started off early this morning. I think we were texting each other at, I don't know what time it was. It was very early, and I just don't understand Navasky Anderson, the way what he was trying to do in that race, running wide. And you're not going to outkick Peter Boyle for sure. And
No.
Peter Boyle's a 143 man already.
Yeah.
He's already running outdoors in Australia. I think the strategy was bad and he had to sweat. Luckily, he made it through. But your overall thoughts on that?
I thought it was a poorly run race. Oh, you're not a discussion this morning. It's not like it. Actually, it's okay. So you're going to sit off of the leader, right? We don't sit 5 meters off the leader. You sit within a stride and a half, huh?
Right.
But he's what? After the first 2 laps, he was like almost 8 meters behind.
It was a
good there was big daylight between him and the leaders, and then try to run. The thing with Navasky is not a sprinter. Okay. Right. So he's gonna have to find a way. That race that he ran, the 144.75, he needs to be closer to that race plan than what we saw. Because 146.34 was he ran this morning or something like that?
Yeah, he ran 146.34, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why would you want to be that far off the pace and try to close
right
when the guy who is ahead of you is already faster than you? That don't make no sense to me. So maybe it's nerves, so now that he's gotten it out of his system and get a good night's sleep, he will look at it and say, okay, this is what I should not be doing. Yeah. Because we know what he's improving every year. Right. He's come down from 145 outdoors to 142.7. He's come down from 146s indoors to 144.75. Clearly, he's making the progress, but he's not using that progress to his advantage.
Correct.
And so the execution this morning was wrong. I'm just hoping that it was a situation like it was nerves.
Yeah.
Or maybe he didn't fully wake up. I don't know. Whatever it was, but it needs to change for the next round of competition, unless he's going to be watching the final from the seats.
Yeah, and it's not like it's an easy thing there, because you think about, I think even Handel Roban today, that was baffling to me. I don't know how to explain his season, because he's also been running really well the last couple of years too. Didn't look so good at the NCAA championships last week. No,
he looked.
Yeah, and he ran 146.58 today. And Cooper Luckinghouse is gonna. He's just toying with these guys. So Boldek there from Croatia eventually won, but if Luckinghouse needed to win, he would have. And so there's a lot you have to do, and I think it's really a competitive thing, because Elliot Creston this season has been fabulous. You think about even Mark English from Ireland. So there's a bunch of guys there that if you don't... So I think for the likes of Navasky and for Roban, if they want to step up, they have to really work hard, execute a better race plan. Otherwise, they will not be watching that, because I'm not counting out Ben Patterson too, because I think he ran well this season as well. So yeah,
I think something has. I'm almost tempted to believe that Roban is not healthy. If you remember in the semifinals, the preliminary round of the NCs, he and Tyrese Taylor went across the line together. What was it, 146.15 to 146.17 or something like that?
Yeah, I have to check
and
something
then
like that. Yeah,
comes back in the final and he looked a shadow of himself in the final. Yeah. He finished, what was it, 6th or something like that?
Yeah.
And
then he wasn't even in the picture.
Yeah, and then seeing him this morning, I was expecting him to say, okay, maybe the NCs was just a bad day for him.
Right.
But he looks lethargic today.
Yeah.
So
perhaps I'm thinking maybe it could be the travel, and because a lot of the NCAA athletes aren't here. Some are, but not all. So perhaps
fatigue. Maybe he has the flu. I don't know what it is, but he doesn't look like the Handel Roban that ran 142 last year at NACAC, or the Handel Roban that ran Wells early in the indoor season at NCAA. So I'm not quite sure.
Yeah,
but he doesn't look particularly great at all.
Cool. All right. Well, I don't want us to stay much longer because obviously we have, no matter what happens, we're getting up early to watch track and field
Yep.
because that's, even
Women
if I
are
don't set
tomorrow
an
morning.
alarm, it's in my, somehow it's encoded in the system that you have to get up. Tomorrow should be another great day. It's going to end with a 60 meter for
Women's.
women, also hurdles for men tomorrow, right? 60 meter hurdles finals for men tomorrow. And so it's going to be exciting. The morning starts off with men's 60 meter hurdles. I'm excited for that. Obviously, there's no Jacoby Tharp, but there's Trey Cunningham, Valician. There's a bunch of guys there that will show up. Jamaica has a couple of athletes too, right? I think, is it Prince that's there? And
I'm trying to remember which was Demario Prince and Jerome Campbell. I'm quite sure.
I think those are the two athletes that, if my memory serves me correctly. 60 meters tomorrow. Are you excited for that? Will we get a world record tomorrow evening, Leighton? We have to wait and see.
Yeah, but it should be keenly contested. I think the talent this year in the 60 meter hurdles has been pretty close. And I think anywhere from 6:37 to 6:45 gets you into the final.
Right.
And then
I didn't mean world record in the 60 hurdles. I meter on the women's side, but just the 60 meter.
You mean 60 meter women?
Yeah.
Well, look, the last time we saw Julian, she ran comfortably 6:99.
Right.
Last time we saw Dosso, she ran 6:99. Both look really good.
Right.
I think Van der Werken,
Amy Hunt.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So it's gonna be and
Sears.
Jason Sears, what's her name?
Smith.
Dina Asher Smith. Yeah, and of course, if we can use Jordan Anthony as any indicator, maybe Brenna Liston comes ready to run fast too. Because last time we saw her, she ran 7:07,
right?
Or something like. So, if especially Dosso and Julian can push each other,
right?
World record is possible. World record is definitely possible.
It is. I hope that we'll end up with a final where we get 3 women going sub 7 seconds. That would be
that would be wild.
That would be a really really good thing. But yeah, semifinals, not semifinal. Janelle Smith too. You know what's going on with Janelle Smith. She's been having a fabulous year, and I feel like she could be the spoiler. We have to wait and see what happens, but she potentially could be a spoiler here in terms of. She's
my brand level, huh? Wherein her pickup is you saw brand level this morning, right? When he got the bad start, and then he just in 3 strides he moved from back of the field to the. That's Janelle for me. And if she goes and look, one of the things I know, she will not be intimidated by the moment. She will not be overawed by the occasion. So she goes in there, as you're right, a potential spoiler. Because if she can get her time down to like a 7:03,
right?
It can be scary. It could be very scary.
No, I think it would. She's been having a good season. She ran indoors, outdoors, and she ran down a lot of athletes, Clayton twins, you name it. And so we'll see. Anyway, Leighton, this has been fun. We might, let's see what happens tomorrow night. We might be here again tomorrow night to break down, hopefully, another fabulous day of the World Championships. Thanks, everybody, for coming through. If we didn't get to your comments...
One thing, though, if we do it tomorrow night, we might have to start a little bit later because I'm going to be at the stadium. There's a meet at the stadium, and there are a lot of big names at the stadium tomorrow. The Clayton twins, Kevona Davis... bunch of people.
Davis is actually making her debut back since this is our first run since she returned to Jamaica, right?
First run, yeah. So I plan to be there, and I'm not quite sure that meet starts in the evening, so it might end about I don't know, but
we'll play by ear.
Feedback tomorrow,
and
then we get back here and then we see if we can do it. Because
people are like, if not, see you on Sunday. Dynamics is booking already. Yeah.
All right, so we'll talk. But night, guys, and thanks again for coming in.
Sure. And thanks, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe to both channels. I mean, if you're on Leighton's channel, subscribe if you haven't, and like the video, and likewise over here. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow with a couple more lives, and Leighton and I will figure out what to do. All right, take care, guys. Bye bye.
Take it easy. Bye bye.